We're on to the third part of our mini-series surrounding each of the classes being reintroduced with the classes rework in Battlefield 2042. The Recon class is an interesting set of specialists, some of which I would say lean more towards the Recon build, but others I would never consider to be Recons in the traditional sense, i.e. taking a sniper rifle, holding an area, or fighting at long range against opposition. So this is the first class where you'll see me move away from utilising the proficiencies that are potentially going to be added to the Recon class to amplify the sniping playstyle. Now for your reference, DICE are going to be making sniper rifles stabilise faster when holding breath and increase the overall duration of this too. But there is also potentially another additional proficiency, which will give sniper rifles immediate and constant steady scope, which to be honest sounds a bit counterintuitive given the confirmed proficiency DICE have already announced. Along with this, all Recon characters will have the insertion beacon available, making everyone a valuable asset to the squad in getting into dangerous positions. The class itself is going to be made up of Casper, Paik, Rao, and the last unreleased specialist who will be making an appearance in Season 4. Let's kick things off with arguably my favourite and most unique specialist, Navin Rao. I made a video over a year ago at the start of Battlefield 2042 regarding Rao, and I think a lot of the points I mentioned in that video are still very valid. Rao gives you the opportunity to play Battlefield 2042 in a whole variety of different ways, especially prior to the rework, as you could use any equipment, making him potentially one of the most well-rounded and useful specialists in the game. But with the introduction of classes, this has pigeonholed him into a more specific type of role now. But I still think he's effective in this and can be advantageous to any squad on the battlefield. This is primarily due to his hacking ability, but also his spotting passive can be a huge benefit for the wider team as well. Taking this into account, I wanted Rao to be able to fight at long range while also being effective up close, or at least close enough to hack vehicles. This is why I'm not running a sniper rifle, but a DMR, which I've found is incredibly powerful. The bsv-m still hasn't lost much of its bite even after the nerf following its introduction in Season 1, making it a great weapon to fight at long distances, but also to be a menace up close when you stick the weapon in full auto. The sight I typically run is actually the 8R Hollow, ironically one of the only weapons I find a hollow sight as being particularly viable on, as I feel I can use it at longer ranges whilst also being equally effective up close. For ammunition, I do mix this up, courtesy of the Plus system, mainly sticking with the high power extended, but occasionally switching it out for the subsonic high power or subsonic close combat depending on what situation I find myself in. For grips, the BCG light grip is the first port of call, but if I'm playing extremely aggressively, the LWG grip is a great combo for the bsv-m too. Lastly, the shortened suppressor is a must use for that increased rate of fire, occasionally swapping to the extended suppressor if I'm having to engage opponents at further distances. Equipment wise, to amplify the effectiveness of Rao's hack, I'm going to utilise the soft flam to help engineer squad and teammates tackle opposing vehicles even more efficiently, by painting them with the soft flam and bringing a hack online to render them useless. To go along with the hacking vibe, I'm also running the EMP grenade to do the same to infantry players too. No electronics on the battlefield when Rao is around. Again, Paik has a unique kit due to her scanner and passive ability, which I feel benefits a more aggressive playstyle than I would typically associate with sniping in Battlefield. For me, Paik is more of an entry attacker used to break into objectives whilst providing the team with more detail about enemy positions and where they might be set up. Because of this, she's less effective when sitting back, as I think you can't take full advantage of a kit when taking a more passive approach. That being said, I'm running a weapon which is arguably the most versatile in the game at the moment, the Rorsch Mark IV Railgun. Since the Railgun was added into Season 3, we've seen it used to great and minimal effect depending on whose hands the weapon is in. I think that Paik can really get a major benefit from the Railgun, as it allows you to play aggressive and push objectives, but then can be altered to provide longer range support too. Specifically, I use the Maul hybrid sight so as to easily swap between close quarters and longer range without needing to use the Plus system, and I found this works well for me, considering this is the only gun which I feel really benefits from using a dual optic like this. Key to the Rorsch Mark IV are the different capacitors you've been able to use. As I mentioned in my video focused on the railgun, I have most success when running the stream capacitor up close, just bear in mind the weapon's spin up time when attacking objectives or pushing enemy positions, before alternating to the high power capacitor to pick off opponents at longer range, which is great if you've just captured a sector on breakthrough and want to take out any retreating stragglers on the enemy team. The only change with the class rework that changes my current kit for Paik is the fact that the proximity sensor is going to be moved from the throwables into the equipment slot, so we're running this there to give increased vision and spotting potential alongside the rest of her kit. In terms of the throwable itself though, this is pretty open-ended, but either the smoke grenade to take advantage of Paik's scan while concealed, or EMP work wonders. Lastly, Casper as a specialist is the closest to the historical Recon class in both his kit, his drone and his passive, along with his actual ghillie suit look. always makes me think of Bad Company 2. However, Casper as a character is pretty far removed from my actual playstyle in 2042, so it's taken a bit of time for me to get into the mindset of playing the old school Recon in this way. I do think I've found a setup which complements his approach though, and I'll likely stick with this going forward. And to be honest, it's the first Recon I'm actually using a sniper rifle on. Specifically, I've opted for the DXR1 as my main weapon of choice. I think the 8x sight complements the DXR1 so well given its effectiveness at those increased ranges, not only being great for taking out enemies but also for spotting enemy squads who might be taking a flanking route or grouping up to push an objective. The high power rounds are also crucial for the improved range effectiveness, making it much easier to track targets and manage that bullet drop. This, coupled with the extended barrel providing increased projectile velocity, are a deadly combination when fighting enemies at long range, as to be expected when you're playing as the main bush Wookiee of 2042. I do sometimes revert back to the factory barrel though to balance out the rate of fire if I'm engaging at slightly shorter ranges, but to be honest this is a rare occurrence. With Casper's drone readily available for actual recon, I think it's really down to two options in terms of equipment. The first, as you can see I'm running here, is a soft lamp, to not only aid in spotting infantry but also for painting targets for engineers again. Along with this, the other more defensive option is to equip the Tug's motion detector, which is coming to All Out War with the update, making Casper a traditional recon in every sense. Now on the throwable front, the slot is fairly open depending on how I'm feeling like playing with Casper, but I found the incendiary grenade to be a great pick if you're trying to retreat and need to cover your back, or to help push enemies out into the open to get an angle. Of course, I need to mention again that we're still missing one specialist to be added into the Recon class, as they're coming to the game when Season 4 officially drops. If you'd like me to cover this character in a similar approach to these videos, let me know in the comments. As always, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on what you like about the builds, or alternatively, what you'd like to run on each. Last up we have the engineers, so get subscribed so that you don't miss out. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure, thanks again for your time, and I'll catch you all in the next one.